welcome back to another bonus episode of The Ride. This episode is brought to you by Horse and Rider On Demand, and today you're going to hear a clip from a Bud Lyon On Demand clinic where he explains the definition of ranch riding and tells us what the judges are looking for when they judge the event. So if you want to hear more from Bud and our other experts, subscribe to Horse and Rider On Demand to get horse training videos and tips from top trainers of all Western riding disciplines. So look out for another bonus episode at the end of the month, and then we'll be back with our regular episodes in February. We have a lot of awesome guests lined up that you won't want to miss. So for now, here's Bud Lyon.
In general, I just want to start with an introduction to ranch riding. We're kind of considering today's course and tomorrow's work, kind of a ranch riding 101. So, we're going to start with the basics and then kind of work our way up there according to, the horses and the humans' skill set and whatnot. But I just want to start. I'm going to do something I don't normally do, but I just think it's important for those of you that have never actually read the definition of ranch riding. I want to read that to you as the AQHA rule book describes it. And the reason why I think that's important is because I think ranch riding is a class that has really grown in popularity and is continuing to evolve. But it was really intended, to fit the spirit for which they created the class. And that was for horses that, you might see on an actual working ranch. And so while, the ranch riding has certainly continued to grow and has become extremely competitive, I do want to read this definition to you so that you have an idea of exactly what the AQHA defined the ranch riding as they intended it to be. And I think it's a good all-encompassing definition. So you'd think I'd know it verbatim by now, but I don't want to mess it up and misquote it. So I'm actually going to read it from the rule book. And the definition is as follows. The purpose of the ranch riding class is to measure the ability of the horse to be a pleasure to ride while being used as a means of conveyance for performing one ranch task to another. So what that means is, essentially, they would like the ideal ranch horse to look like something you would want to ride, especially if you had to be on its back all day long. I'm certainly, not working at the 4-6s or the Tongue River Ranch or anything like that. But for those gentlemen or those cowboys and cowgirls that do, they want a horse that is enjoyable to ride, that's, to some degree comfortable to ride, because they're going to be in that saddle for long periods of time. And they want something that is handy and that they can, get a full day's work out of without too much hassle. So that being said, the next part of the definition reads as this. The horse should reflect the versatility, attitude, and movement of a working ranch horse riding outside the confines of the arena. The horse should be well-trained, relaxed, quiet, soft, and cadenced at all gaits. The ideal ranch horse will travel with forward movement and demonstrate an obvious lengthening of stride at extended gaits. The horse can be ridden with light contact or on a relatively loose rein without requiring undue restraint, but should not be shown on a full drape of the reins. The overall manners and responsiveness of the ranch riding horse to make timely transitions in a smooth and correct manner, as well as the quality of the movement, are primary considerations. So that's an important clause in that definition as well. We're talking about a horse that they want to see do these transitions as effortlessly as possible and with quality of movement as much as possible. The final sentence in the ranch riding definition per the rule book states, the ideal ranch riding horse should have a natural ranch horse appearance from head to tail in each maneuver. So what we're talking about there essentially are horses that we don't want to see look manufactured. We don't want to see them over bridled. They should not, in theory, be behind the vertical of that pole axis. Their heads should not be excessively low, specifically for long periods of time. We don't want horses that look like their gaits or their quality of movement is man-made. We're looking for horses, again, to paraphrase, that you would be more likely to see on the working ranch, which is a more forward-moving horse that is pleasant to ride and has, hopefully a pleasant expression about doing their job. So, again, I don't want to bore you with the minutia, but I do think it's important to understand why this class was created and what the spirit of which it was intended was written, and why they are particular about some of these things. We have a lot of different horses that come from different backgrounds in the ranch riding, and that is part of the popularity for the event. So you have horses that come from a reining background, you have horses that come from a cutting background, you have some horses that come from a cow horse background, an all-around background. And that has lent itself to, some of the popularity, because a lot of people feel like they have an opportunity to play and compete and enjoy themselves and have a new avenue or, a great fit for their horse and whatever background it comes from. Having said that, I'll segue into, something that's, obviously important to me, and I'm biased because this is partially how I make my living, but most of the horses that are here today come from a reining background. And I feel like that gives you guys, a definite advantage in some respects. Not that horses from other disciplines can't be, highly successful and competitive in the ranch classes, because that's certainly the case. But, I find that our horses that have a reining foundation or have those fundamentals on them, have a ton of body control and, have an understanding of collection and softness and frame and things like that, which I think make a transition into the ranch classes easier to compared to some of the other events, that don't focus on those elements. Again, that's not to say that, coming from a different background, those horses still can't be successful, because they certainly can. But I do feel like, a lot of you here today have horses that have a reining foundation on them. And I think that makes it, in my experience, of course, given my background, I'm going to say that, but I think that makes it an easier transition in some respects for at least my program and what I like to see a horse do. The challenge can be when we're talking about horses that are reining horses or have been reining horses, and you're transitioning to the ranch riding classes. You have to teach them the nuances of the ranch riding, and stylistically that can be a little different than what we see, at some of the reinings. Of course, at the reining, we see a lot of horses that tend to be very bridly, that tend to go around very framed up, that tend to be very low-headed. And obviously, those horses are incredible athletes. They're capable of doing that. They're comfortable doing that a lot of times. There's nothing wrong with that, from a reining perspective. But when you are transitioning a horse that has been taught to do that or has those natural tendencies, there are some nuances about the ranch riding that, are different. And stylistically, some of your ranch riding judges are going to want to see your horses carry themselves a little bit more according to what you would see in that definition that I just read from you.
Thank you guys for tuning into the Ride Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and please be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow Horse and Rider Magazine on social media and find us at horseandrider.com.
If you guys have any questions or comments, please be sure to hit us up at horseandrider@equinenetwork.com. We want to hear from you guys.
And if you like what you're listening to, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes.